Puts a suggestion in the suggestion box. Don't ignore it because it could save you some big bucks. In the past 5 years, U.S. companies have saved more than $10 billion simply by listening to their workers. Isabel Laurent takes a closer look at the benefits of this communication.
More companies across the country, like IBM in San Jose, are finding that listening to their employees is profitable.
My suggestion was to take advantage of California state energy tax credits for energy-efficient equipment.
That idea saved $1 million for IBM. It earned Watson a suggestion award of $100,000, part of millions the company pays every year taking employee suggestions. Lockheed nationwide saved $100 million last year on the advice of its workers. One recycling program alone, adjusted on the suggestion of Sunnyvale employees, saves them $700,000 a year in hauling costs. The National Association of Suggestion Systems says its 900-member companies implemented almost a third of the 1,027,364 ideas employees suggested last year, a savings of $2.3 billion. That's almost twice as much as the money saved in 1985.
Jane, could I have the play-by-play
For instance, in the Bay Area, PG&E saved over $28 million in 1990 by adopting employee suggestions.
Now, Shane, exactly what did you mean? What was I doing?
Dad, are you going to be on anymore?
No, that's about it.
Bye, I'm taking Raj home.
Okay. Could I have the play-by-play?
Me? Bye. Amy, Butterfinger.
Bank of America started its program in 1920.
Bye.
When the chauffeur of the founder of PG&E
Bye.
made a suggestion that is to make the basis for extortionist checks. G&E gave the chauffeur $1. Today, maximum amount is $50,000. For most of the $1 suggestions employees made last year, companies saved, on an average, just over $7,000 per idea. Employees averaged $800 in awards. For the companies, there's an even bigger payoff, boosting morale and productivity. In San Jose, Isabel Laurent, News Center 4.
Plenty of suggestions around here.
That are taken.
Not necessarily, but some are.
Good, you're the only person interviewed.
Up next, Gary with sports, including new trading cards, featuring Joe Montana. Also an update on the A's and those Red Hot Twins. Plus the final round of the U.S. Open, down to the final cut.
Finding, barking, digging, house-breaking problems. It takes us a couple days to train the dog and several weeks to train the owners. The 800 number is real handy for the people that live in other area codes. If we can make things easier for them to find us, our business will go up.
But little. Sunny skies elsewhere, highs 62 to 84 degrees, winds in the afternoon to 25 miles per hour. And the temperatures drop a little bit, but nothing too drastic over the next couple of days. Tuesday and Wednesday from the low 60s to the low 80s with coastal fog. Thursday it warms up after we see the fog go away. Plenty of sunshine, 60s to 80s.
Okay, all right, thanks. It is that time of year again for baby pictures, and a Florida wildlife preserve is showing off its latest newborns, 4 albino raccoons. Now, this preserve director says that the rarity here will probably become more and more common. It seems a lot of the scavengers hang out in cities. They are not exposed to nature's broad gene pool, and their urban inbreeding can result in lack of color around the eyes and in the fur. Since these youngsters lack camouflage, they will not be released into the wild and will be used for education instead. Albino raccoons.
Yeah, it'd still drive my dog completely crazy.
I'm sure.
Well, coming up, the Bay Area ship races to the Philippines to help evacuate people from the path of a deadly volcano. And a startling report on the number of dolphins and whales still trapped, still killed by tuna fishing boats.
Plus the growing company trend of paying workers bonus money for their special smarts.
Controversy over dolphin-safe tuna. A year has gone by since steps were taken to protect dolphin and other precious marine life from drift nets. All that effort and concern for nature may have had only mixed results. Joe Benton has more.
The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration had observers aboard 10% of the Japanese fishing fleet at work in the North Pacific. The observers documented what they described as an ecological disaster.
Millions of these fish taken, essentially just thrown overboard, completely wasted. That's the real problem with it. They're a wasteful fishing practice.
Among those millions of fish caught in the Japanese drift nets and later discarded, 250,000 tuna, 81,000 blue sharks, 30,000 seabirds, and more than 1,700 whales and dolphins.
consumer confusion.
A year has now passed since California Democrat Barbara Boxer won approval for her bill requiring companies claiming dolphin-safe tuna to take steps to protect the dolphin. Mexican fishermen are yet to change their habits despite a U.S. embargo on Mexican tuna and continue to kill large numbers of dolphin. And with the Japanese drift nets plying the North Pacific, life is still treacherous for the Pacific dolphin.
It's about the same, I'm afraid to say. We have a number of things operating, but it's still depending upon the will of nations like Mexico to change their practices.
The Senate is looking at a bill which would require the president to impose economic sanctions against those countries which fail to eliminate large-scale drift net fishing. One more effort in Congress to save the dolphin. In Washington, Joe Benton, News Center 4.
For the first time since World War II, the United States has no usable military airfields in the Philippines. A week of violent eruptions by Mount Pinatubo devastated both the Clark and the Subic Bay air bases situated near the volcano, causing them to evacuate and eventually close. Evacuation of the bases will be completed by the end of the week. And if you need more information on a service member stationed in the Philippines, the military has set up a toll-free hotline. For the Air Force, you want to call 1-800-253-9276. For the Navy, 1-800-255-3808. And for the Marines, 1-800-874-7454. If you don't have a pencil handy, we will give you these numbers again in the next commercial break. The USS Abe Lincoln, based here in the Bay Area, is one of the ships heading to the Philippines to help evacuate military personnel.
Well, summer is usually a time hotels cash in big on tourism, but this could be a summer of empty rooms and worried owners. Our new business reporter, Tia O'Brien, has more now on how far San Francisco hotels are willing to go to boost their business.
San Francisco is out to capture tourists any way it can, even if it means slapping on handcuffs.
Let's go! Don't make me burn your butt, sir.
The Convention and Visitors Bureau is trying to convince these national travel consultants that San Francisco is a fun town, the kind of place they should bring their corporate clients loaded with cash and expense accounts. Carol Lehman from Dayton, Ohio, is sold. One reason? There are plenty of hotel rooms, and they are cheap.
I expected it to be like $300 a night, you know, and it's not.
What are you finding it to be?
I think our rate is like $190. It just isn't bad.
I've checked with 2 different hotel properties, and I'm finding that we gave them 2 possible dates, and they were open each one of those times.
Customers might be getting great deals, but not the hotels. After a decade of building, hotels now are having trouble filling the 6,000 new rooms. That's why in early July, the mayor and hotel executives are taking to the road to sell the city that in the past has sold itself.
I'm not worried about hotels folding as much as I'm challenged to fill the rooms of the hotels that exist.
The mayor will use this promotional film on his roadshow to sell the city. Back here in San Francisco, we used a telephone to find out how hard hotels are working to sell their rooms.
On the 4th of July, as a first-time guest, I could get a deluxe room, which is normally $285 for $165. Boy, that's a good deal.
A News Center 4 survey of 10 top hotels shows rooms wide open over the next 3 weeks, with whopping discounts, sometimes as high as 40%. Hotel industry consultant Suzanne Mellon warns that some hotels can't pay off their huge debts, and that's bad news for the whole city.
When hotels are hurting, they're going to have to cut back on their service and their staff. And so it may have an economic impact here also on the tax revenues that are generated by the hotels.
Hotels are hoping the new convention center expansion will stave off that gloomy forecast. But business experts warn the problem is more serious, and it may take years for the hotels here to catch up. Tia O'Brien, News Center 4.
And we have a lot of hotels here. A survey of Oakland and San Jose hotels shows vacancy in those cities are up as well. Yes, tourists can expect to find some good deals in those places because of this competition, and some very good deals indeed. Tia, by the way, is just joining us, as I mentioned, as our new business reporter here at News Center 4. She comes from KYW in Philadelphia.
We welcome her. A gay man who was fired after 19 years as a Shell Oil executive has won a $5 million wrongful termination suit. Jeffrey Collins of San Francisco was fired after his secretary exposed a memo he'd written to his gay sex club on the company computer. The judge agreed with Collins that he was fired because of his homosexuality, which was none of Shell's business.
Still have a rather murky professional career ahead of me, and that hurts. It hurts. The award makes it easier to take, I will say, and it also, I think, sends a very clear message to employers that firing someone for off-the-job behavior, irrespective of perfectly good performance, is not on, and the court decision, I think, speaks to that.
The $5 million+ award is believed to be the largest of its kind in U.S. history.
Well, one of your employers, or employees rather, puts a suggestion in a suggestion box, don't ignore it because it could save you some big bucks. In the past 5 years, U.S. companies have saved more than $10 billion simply by listening to their workers. Isabel Durand takes a closer look at the benefits of this communication.
More companies across the country, like IBM in San Jose, are finding that listening to their employees is profitable.
My suggestion was to take advantage of California state energy tax credits for energy-efficient equipment.
That idea saved $1 million for IBM. It earned Watson a suggestion award of $100,000, part of millions the company pays every year taking employee suggestions. Lockheed nationwide saved $100 million last year on the advice of its workers. One recycling program alone, adjusted on the suggestion of Sunnyvale employees, saves them $700,000 a year in hauling costs. The National Association of Suggestion Systems says its 900 member companies implemented almost a third of the 1,027,364 ideas employees suggested last year, at a savings of $2.3 billion. That's almost twice as much of the money saved in 1985. For instance, in the Bay Area, PG&E saved over $28 million in 1990 by adopting employee suggestions. A Kodak employee suggested its company print instructions inside the film boxes, saving millions on wasted paper instructions. The employee got $25,000 for his idea. Bank of America started its program in 1928 when the chauffeur of the founder, A.P. Giannini, made a suggestion that is today the basis for its traveler's checks. Giannini gave the chauffeur $1. Today, maximum amount is $50,000. For most of the 1 million suggestions employees made last year, companies saved, on an average, just over $7,000 per idea. Employees averaged $800 in awards. For the companies, there's an even bigger payoff in boosted morale and productivity. In San Jose, Isabel Durand, News Center 4.
There are plenty of suggestions around here, too, that you get all the time.
Yeah, that are taken?
Not necessarily, but some are, yes.
A bonus is coming, I'm sure, Pete. Up next, Gary with sports, including new trading cards, featuring Joe Montana. Also an update on the A's and those red-hot Twins, plus the final round of the U.S. Open, down to the final putt. It's soap opera today, and they saw golf instead. And Gary's here to explain on it.
I'll be honest with you, and sports is what pays the bills, but I would rather spend the afternoon with Susan Lucci than with Scott Simpson. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
No, that's the Open. It's the top golf. I disagree, but I play golf and you don't.
I'll tell you what, if Susan Lucci's at my house and you have Scott Simpson at yours, more people in this room will come with me. Okay.
Not golfers.
All right, we're going to sit here and argue all night.
Yeah,
but
let's go. Let's go.
Susan Lucci with me. All right, how about a little golf, though? Scotty Simpson and Payne Stewart finished 72 holes, dead even. 18 holes this afternoon would decide the 1991 U.S. Open. Those look like the feet of Payne Stewart.